welcome to another episode of my weird little podcast. I'm Tia, you know me, I'm here all the time, all day, every day, podcasting. And in the other room, we have Patrick. He is broadcasting as well from Las Vegas. Here we are in Sin City, which is so appropriate for today's subject. Today, we're diving into another cryptid, which is something like I want to do more of. I want to do more like weather phenomenon. I don't know, like cryptids, stuff that's like very different than what I did with Hollywood's Haunted, the podcast, which we did talk about revisiting that podcast later on. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how much I can churn out within the next couple weeks. Yeah, today I want to talk about the Jersey Devil. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. So have you ever heard of the Jersey Devil?
Yeah, I think I want to say Teresa said something about it once.
Yeah, on the last podcast that you were editing. That's not
right,
fair.
yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, but that was like the really, because I'd heard about it before, but that was like the only time I had, heard more than the fact it existed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still very unfamiliar with it.
Well, it has a lot of similarities to like Mothman, as well, which like my outfit today is giving me total Mothman vibes, but I was like going for Jersey Devil.
That's funny.
But I think the red makeup is more like a Mothman situation. I want to make a Mothman cosplay so bad. I want like a rave outfit. You know how like the girls do like the butterfly rave outfits? I want to do one that's moth, but then I also want to do one that's like a Mothman look.
That's hilarious.
Like I want like the fuzzy leg warmers, and the big ISIS wings, and all of that situation. So we'll see. I say I want these things, but like sewing is so tedious and I'm not very good at it. And, maybe I can compile some items, like put together an outfit, which I do all the time. That's like my TikTok. We have to like custom make a few small things. Maybe we'll see what happens. Depends on where I'm working this October as well. Like, not saying you have to only make costumes in October. You can make costumes and wear costumes all the time. Yeah. But, we'll see where I'm working this October and what inspires me, Last year, I was Beetlejuice for Halloween because at the time where I worked, and if you watch my TikToks or follow me on social media, you probably know, and or you're one of my coworkers listening to this. They have like a Beetlejuice sign there. I don't know why I had a brain fart just now. Am I revealing too much about myself? Am I gonna have stalkers?
Is that what it was? You're trying to ride that line?
Yeah. Am I gonna have stalkers? Which might not be a bad thing because Mitchell and I just this week were talking about starting a UFO cult. And everything.
Yeah, it was a weird text to get.
What's that? Oh yeah. By the way, Mitchell and I are starting a cult. Here's a costume. Here we go. Read this book. So we do need some people to join. We decided our aesthetic is going to be the cover of Rolling Stone magazine that featured the X-Files cast, the two leads, Mulder and Scully, from the 1990s. If you know, you know. So that is the basis of our UFO religion. Anyways, moving on.
And that's the podcast.
The Jersey Devil. Here we go. So there's a lot of vague stories, so it's kind of hard to find something that definitive. But we'll do I'll do my best. So I got this obviously from Wikipedia, pinelandsalliance.org, a couple YouTube videos, one by Real History, one by It's History. But you can find a lot of information about this from like New Jersey and the Pinelands area's actual websites. They very much embrace the fact that this cryptid has been sighted out there. So, and I found
Do
that
you
pretty
mean like
fascinating.
the city's website?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah, and like the national parks websites and things like
oh
that. Yeah,
really? Oh
yeah.
wow. Oh, okay.
So they're
Dang.
all about it. I mean, isn't there like football team the Devils or something like that?
Yeah. Probably like a
Sports.
XFL or something. I don't
Their
know.
sports ball is the
Some
Devils, something like that. The Jersey Devils, yeah, right. That's the thing.
No, that sounds right, but I don't know if it's football. I don't think there's a, but I don't know.
It's one of
What do I?
it's some ball sport.
Hockey, maybe? Hockey?
Oh yeah,
No?
wouldn't that be funny if it was hockey and it was not a ball sport at all?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. The non-ball sport.
Yeah, they use that flat ball and they kick it around, right?
Yeah, flat ball, I think they call it. You're right.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. I vamped enough. So most of I like to kind of start out with the location that we're dealing with. The Jersey Devil obviously has been seen in New Jersey. But mainly the Pinelands area, which is the Pinelands National Reserve. It is a national reserve that encompasses the New Jersey Pine Barrens. It's 1.1 million acres of forest. So it's pretty big. Something could be out there, you know. Uh, a point or sorry, 225 acres of New Jersey's land area. It's the largest body of open space in the mid-Atlantic seaboard, between Boston and Richmond. The Pinelands is a unique location of historic villages, berry farms amid the vast oak pine forest, extensive wetlands, and diverse species of plants and animals of the Atlantic coastal pine barren ecoregion. So it's beautiful. And, you know, a lot of the people who were like with the YouTube videos that I watched and like they really treasure this area, which is probably why the Jersey Devil is so beloved, you know, this cryptid, because they really appreciate this beautiful national forest. And it's just something that, you know, it's their treasure. Um, so during the 17th century, the area was explored and settled by the Swedish, Dutch, and English, eventually becoming a part of the U.S. state of New Jersey. Over a dozen ghost towns, it's leftovers from booming iron and glass industries. So the area is very eerie, to say the least. You know, it was booming at one point, but is now very much deserted and overgrown, you know, which leads to this sort of like aesthetic that these tall tales can kind of come from, you know. But I'm just trying to set like the mood right now. So you have an idea of, you know, the environment that this creature derives from. So not only were there industries for iron and glass, but there's also brick, charcoal, paper, and iron. I'll also get in a little bit later that there was lots of cranberry bogs around the Jersey area as well. So there were cranberry, you know, industries. Uh, so okay, so um, okay, let's just get into that. I guess the cranberry industries, um, they were kind of mostly most of the cranberry bogs were kind of set up by this guy, AJ Ryder, as of Ryder University as well. His name is on that. He was also known as the Cranberry King. There was also like this really violent, now we're going to get into like true crime situation in the area. So the area of the Pinelands may be haunted because there's also been some like violent deaths there. as well. Most of the bogs were created by a man named A.J. Ryder, who's also known as the Cranberry King. His name is on Ryder University. There was a situation too where there were highwaymen who robbed him and killed some of his family members as well. But one particular death in the area that I do want to set the scene about was of Emilio Carranza Rodriguez. And this happens in 1928. And so he was kind of the Charles Lindbergh of his time. He was into aviation. So he was 22 years old and a hotshot of Mexican aviation. So Charles Lindbergh's transatlantic flight was the previous year, and his subsequent dramatic flight to Mexico City made a powerful impression south of the border and very much influenced Emilio. He decided that he would fly from Mexico to New York City and back again. The trip to New York was done in stages and went smoothly, but on the return flight, it was going to be nonstop, a grueling test of endurance. And Emilio delayed his departure for 3 days because of bad weather, and then abruptly flew off the evening of July 12th, 1928, in a wild thunderstorm. Rumor has it that he was forced to leave on orders from a jealous Mexican general who telegrammed to Emilio, was reported, whose telegram that he had sent to Emilio was reported later found in his pocket. It read, "Leave immediately, or the quality of your manhood will be in doubt." So, yeah, not very nice. And, 1928. So, people, I guess, cared about that sort of thing. So Emilio only got about 50 miles south before his flight ended in the Pine Barrens. His body was discovered the next day by some locals picking blueberries. Emilio had a flashlight in his right hand. Literally, he had crashed, and the flashlight he was holding at the time was lodged into his hand. As the force of the impact had driven it into his palm, he had apparently been looking for a place to land when he crashed into some trees. The heartbroken children of Mexico contributed to build a monument inscribed in both English and Spanish to mark the spot where their hero had died. It still stands to this day, an arrow on one side pointing skyward and an Aztec eagle on the other plummeting to earth. So that is a little bit about the Pine Barrens and, some of its history setting the scene. But we're going to get into the cryptid that may or may not live there. So the Jersey Devil. Dun, dun, dun. So designated in 1938 as the country's only state demon, the Jersey Devil is described as a kangaroo-like creature with the face of a horse, which I'm sure you would love to encounter.
Oh my God.
The head of a dog, bat-like wings, horns, and a tail. So prior to any of this story being told specifically as the Jersey Devil, there had been sightings from the indigenous people. So the Lenape people, who originally inhabited the Pine Barrens, believed the area was inhabited by a spirit called Mising. Mising, which sometimes took the form of a deer-like creature with leathery wings. So the Lenape, also called Lenai, and there are other variations of the word, and the Delaware people, basically indigenous people of the northeastern woodlands who lived in the United States and Canada. The Lenape historical territory included present-day northeastern Delaware, all of New Jersey, and the eastern Pennsylvania regions of the Lehigh Valley. So basically, in that area, they inhabited it. They're the original inhabitants of this area. During the last decades of the 18th century, most of the Lenape were displaced from their homelands by European settlements and the American Revolutionary War, which pushed them farther west. But so they had originally had this in their folklore of seeing this creature. But the Europeans believe that it originated much later. Um, we kind of always rewrite our own history. But this is what is it? The Anglo idea or origin of this creature. So in 1735, a Pine Barrens resident named Jane Leeds, known as Mother Leeds, was pregnant for the 13th time, which this was actually a lot of kids at that time. That could be overwhelming to a person. And that's part of the story, is that she was already overwhelmed by the 12 children that she had. So out of frustration, she curses the child, and she cries out that she hopes that this child will not be a human child, but that it will be a devil. I don't really know what that means, or why someone would say that, but that sounds like a made-up story. But that's what it is. They said that she didn't want this child to be born human. She wanted it to be born a devil. So she ends up going into labor on a stormy night while her friends gathered around her. The child was born a normal child, but as moments after the child was born, it changed into a creature with hooves, a goat head, bat wings, and a forked tail. Growling and screaming, the child beat everyone with its tail before flying up the chimney and heading into the pines.
Damn.
Yeah, right. In some versions of the tale, Mother Leeds was supposedly a witch. Of course she was, because all women are. And the child's father was the devil. So some versions of the legend also state that there was a subsequent attempt by local clergymen to exorcise the creature from the Pine Barrens. Mother Leeds, though, has been identified by some as the real life Deborah Leeds. Oh, Deborah. On the grounds that Deborah Leeds' husband, Japhet Leeds, named 12 children in the will he wrote during 1736, which is compatible with the legend. Deborah and Japhet Leeds also lived in the Leeds Point succession, of which now is Atlantic County, New Jersey, which is commonly the location scene of the Jersey Devil. So Leeds is not an uncommon name on the East Coast either. So that, it's, also, I would just say in the US, Leeds is not an uncommon last name. So pinpointing who this person exactly was would be difficult, especially as legend and folklore goes on. So this story might also have a very strange connection to Benjamin Franklin. So Benjamin Franklin, if you don't know, invented a lot of things. He might have invented the Jersey Devil as well. So, so I'm going to get into that just a little bit. So during the late 17th and 18th century, the British held a colony that became the modern state of New Jersey, was split somewhat vertically into East Jersey and West Jersey. So the latter was the adopted home of Daniel Leeds. He lived between 1651 and 1720. Born in England, he was a Quaker and a pamphlet writer who emigrated to the town of Burlington in what's now southwestern New Jersey. If you don't know what a pamphlet writer is, it is basically, it's a blog, it's a troll, that's how they did the internet back then. Is if you had something to say, you wrote a pamphlet or you wrote a publication or you wrote a news article, and you could say whatever you wanted. Usually they were very opinionated, and it could also gain you a lot of enemies, or followers,
I mean, they used to do it for politics back in the day too.
Exactly. Yeah. When we talked about San Diego back in the day, there was a woman, oh, I forgot what her name was, but she wrote a lot of pamphlets on contraception, and everything, which was, they're introducing ideas or concepts or opinions and everything. So this guy, a Quaker, and if you don't know who the Quakers are, it was kind of a religious movement. These people are typically very known as being very nice and simple. They believe in helping each other out. It's very similar to like the Amish, I would say, as someone who doesn't know very much about Quakers or the Amish. So in 1687, Leeds published the first edition of his very own almanac. Now, if you don't know what an almanac is, it is predicting the weather. Look it up. If you don't know what an almanac is, it has to do with the weather, basically predicting what the weather is going to be throughout the year. There's a lot that goes into it. Sometimes it's accurate, I'm sure, and I'm sure sometimes it's not quite on the money, but these are supposed to help farmers decide when they're going to plant things, when they're going to do this and that. So this became a lightning rod for controversy. Many Quakers who read the text objected to its use of astrology and heathen Greco-Roman planet names. Ooh, how dare they? When the Quaker leadership turned against Leeds, he went on the offensive. He befriended anti-Quaker politicians and wrote in 1699 a manifesto denouncing Quaker theology titled "A Trumpet Sounded Out of the Wilderness of America." So, sorry, the wind. My goodness, the wind has been so bad, and my bedroom window faces into the backyard, and there's it's made me very jumpy,
Is it that curtain?
Yeah, the curtain out there that blows that you can see, and there's been a lot of UFO sightings in the region, and aliens walking through people's backyards, and it's made me very jumpy as of recent, even though it's like 2 p.m. right now.
I know, but the way you just said that was like a last video type of thing we saw. Yeah, we like a found footage.
So basically, he denounces Quakers and he writes this very scathing manifesto. Bridges were burned, of course. One prominent Quaker, Caleb Pusey, took aim at Leeds by writing a pamphlet that called him Satan's harbinger. So here we go. So Daniel Leeds, he died in 1720, but despite all the notoriety, his almanac lived on. Later editions were overseen by his son, Titan Leeds. During 1728, Titan Leeds began to include the Leeds family crest on the cover of the almanacs. So the family crest is, I don't know how to pronounce this. I rarely know how to pronounce anything. A Wyvern, Wyvern. WYV should not be in a word one after the other, but a Wyvern which is a bat-winged dragon-like legendary creature that stands upright on two clawed feet. So the Sun, he's continued to publish this almanac that is, you know, seen as Satan's work or whatever, and it's got this bat-winged dragon-hoofed creature on the front. So Benjamin Franklin, good old Benny Frank here, owned a rival publication called Poor Richard's Almanac, which jokingly predicted by way of astrology that Titan Leeds would die on October 17th, 1733. We should do an episode on Benjamin Franklin because he's a weird person.
Right. There's a lot of weird stories about him,
Some
man.
stuff he did was great, and some stuff he was just kind of a dick, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And
you
maybe
know?
a little psychotic.
Yeah, and like he definitely had a sense of humor, and sometimes the sense of humor wasn't so nice, you know?
Hmm.
So Ben has a rival publication of Almanac, and he's predicting that Titan Leeds would die. He actually didn't die on this day, of course not. Um, and Titan Leeds actually clapped back at Benny, says, "A fool, a liar," in print. Uh, so Ben Franklin, he kind of like doubles down on this whole Leeds is dead and died October 17th, 1773, and basically is like, oh, his ghost is saying all of these things. He is dead. He is most certainly the devil and comes from the devil. And he actually like published, that this was actually being said by Titan Leeds' ghost. Um, so by clashing with Ben Franklin, Titan Leeds kind of hurt his family's reputation, which had already been iffy. So over the years, insinuations that Leeds and his family were linked to Satan morphed into an East Coast horror story. And in 1859, Atlantic Monthly article contained the first unambiguous reference to the character we now call the Jersey Devil. So that might have been how part of the story started to develop. That the Leeds name basically being associated with the devil. However, this creature has been seen. There have been several sightings of this creature, and there was a huge sighting of this creature in 1909 that, I mean, even to this day, there are still sightings of this creature a lot, but this was one of the most biggest. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I'm so hungry. But the biggest sighting. So during the week of January 16th to the 23rd of 1909, a newspaper published hundreds of claimed encounters with the Jersey Devil from all over South Jersey and the Philadelphia area. Among these alleged encounters were claims a creature attacked a trolley car in Haddon Heights and a social club in Camden. Police in Camden and Bristol, Pennsylvania, supposedly fired on the creature to no effect. Other reports initially, concerned unidentified footprints in the snow, but soon sightings of the creature resembling the Jersey Devil were being reported throughout South Jersey, as far as Delaware and Western Maryland. The widespread newspaper coverage created fear throughout the Delaware Valley, prompting a number of schools to close and workers to stay home. Vigilant groups and groups of hunters roamed the pines and countryside in search of the devil. During this period, it is rumored that the Philadelphia Zoo hosted $10,000 in a reward for the creature. The offer prompted a variety of hoaxes, including a kangaroo equipped with artificial claws and bat wings. But this is probably one of the most famous sightings, is the Jersey Devil attacking the trolley car, you know. But like I said, it has been seen to this very day, and it had been seen prior to it being associated with the Leeds myth or Titan Leeds, and Benjamin Franklin at all.
or
It was
even or even New, before it was even New Jersey, right? I
Yeah,
guess
exactly. It was had
that's
been
crazy.
seen by the indigenous people. So I hate to say there is something out there, but there is maybe something to this. This creature may exist, or it might be something that is common, that, it just might be an owl or a hawk or a bat or something. And because of this folklore, people will start to associate this glimpse or the sighting with, it has to be this. People will make up their mind about it. But who knows? Like, I can't speak for other people's experiences. I've also never been to New Jersey. So, but this is a story that they treasure, and they're very proud of their cryptid. And they should be, that's very cool, actually. But who knows? Is it something that Ben Franklin made up? Is it a mythical creature? Who knows? So, anybody who's listening, if you know anything about the Jersey Devil or you've seen it, I would really appreciate you reaching out to me on social media. Like I've said before, my Instagram is at Tia is the coolest. You can find my weird little podcast on Facebook or my personal Facebook. If you are a personal friend of me, or my TikTok at my weird little podcast, you can message me there. So I want to hear from you guys, if anything, if you've seen it, or anything at all. But yeah, that is a little bit about the Jersey Devil. Sorry, it was a little rough for me to get through. I am still waking up at 2 in the afternoon. I'm gonna sip my
Mhm.
coffee. I'm gonna eat some food now, and maybe we'll record another podcast today. We'll see. But this should be out pretty soon. Why am I saying that? They're gonna know it's out by the time you're listening to this. Uh, exactly. Anyways, you know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Maybe I'll be posting more on Hollywood's Haunted, the podcast, but I'm definitely going to be posting more on this podcast. Let me know what you want to hear about. I'm going to be focusing mostly on weather phenomenon and cryptids, as much as I can, although there is a true crime murder mystery that I'm really wanting to talk about soon. So we'll see what I decide. It just depends on my mood, my state of mental health, and the amount of coffee I can have. So yeah, this has been fun. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a great day and stay spooky. Ooh.
Ooh.